Good afternoon. Clean-up efforts continue at a truck stop near Goulburn after an inferno consumed 6 trucks in the early hours of this morning. The Hume Highway was closed at Breadalbane, with southbound lanes only now open. As Josh Martin reports, authorities are amazed no one was killed.
Good afternoon. Emergency services say it is a miracle that all 6 truck drivers walked away without injuries from this fiery and mangled crash site on the Hume Highway in New South Wales. At 5 this morning, a semi-trailer was pulling into a rest area between Yass and Goulburn at Breadalbane when another truck hit it from behind. The trucks then crashed into 4 semi-trailers that were all parked up with drivers sleeping in the rest area. A ferocious blaze broke out and explosions were heard, fueled by the contents of the vehicles. One had 8 tonnes of butane cans, a second had resin, a third memory foam mattresses, and a fourth was carrying alcohol. Smoke continues to billow out of the crash site, and firefighters have been using sniffer drones to monitor the atmosphere for harmful chemicals.
It can then fly through that smoke and give us some idea of the toxicity of the smoke. Because that is our biggest concern. We're quite fortunate where it did happen. It's quite an open space.
It is nothing short of a miracle that all 6 drivers managed to make it out, and none of them were serious injuries either. So, an absolute miracle. This is one of the most serious I've seen. However, in saying that, it's probably one of the best results. It is the best result we could have hoped for.
It blows me away that those six patients were able to walk out of such a scene like that. It was incredible.
The Hume Highway is the key freight route between Australia's 2 biggest cities, Sydney and Melbourne. It also carries a lot of tourists and residents. For much of the day, the Hume Highway has been closed. People are being diverted through Canberra via the Federal Highway and then back up to Yass via the Barton Highway. Emergency services are hoping to reopen the southbound lanes of the Hume Highway this afternoon, but as for the northbound lane, they say it could still be hours or days until that section of highway is open to traffic.
Thanks, Josh. Teenage workers could soon be paid superannuation as the Greens push the Albanese government to make a deal. Tim Lester is covering federal politics for us today. Tim, this would be a fundamental change for younger workers and also Australian businesses.
Absolutely, Anne. In fact, the way the Greens tell it, hundreds of thousands of young Australian workers are subsidising billionaires.
At present, those under 18 who work less than 30 hours a week are not paid superannuation. That means 12% of their salary goes straight to the bottom line of some of Australia's most profitable big companies.
One estimate by a superannuation provider suggests 515,000 young workers would benefit this financial year from the Greens' proposed change, employers having to pay an extra $405 million in super.
The proposal is sometimes put as though it's free money. We would like those proposing it to specify where is the money coming from for this. Is it going to hit small business?
The government often looks to support from the Greens for the Senate numbers it needs to pass legislation. For now, the Treasurer is neither backing the idea nor waving it off.
We've had this raised with us and I've been engaging with young people on it because I think it's a really important issue.
Why is it that teenagers are getting literally cheated out of their superannuation? They're putting the hours in. They've got a retirement like everybody else. I don't think employers should get a freebie, particularly these big employers like McDonald's and others.
This as the government promotes new financial year changes due to take effect tomorrow. The March cut to fuel excise will be scaled back from tomorrow, reducing the saving from 32 cents a litre to 16 cents.
This week, for the first time, we've seen petrol and diesel prices lower than they were before the war in the Middle East began.
As well, tax cuts take effect tomorrow, so too an expansion of paid parental leave and also new laws meant to prevent price gouging by the major supermarkets. The government will hope these and other changes give them some political impetus as Parliament rises late this week to begin its long winter break. Anne.
Tim Lester joining us live from Canberra. Thank you, Tim. Police have launched a public appeal to identify the mystery author behind hundreds of anonymous threatening letters. The writer, who calls himself Scorpio or Bullet, is believed to be a man in his 60s who has allegedly sent letters to politicians and other prominent figures between 2015 and 2026. Police say some of the correspondence contains threatening or harassing material, along with newspaper clippings. Anyone who recognises the distinctive handwriting or has information about the author's identity is urged to contact police. There are urgent new calls for anti-hate laws, with the Anti-Semitism Royal Commission told social media platforms are out-of-control arenas of hate. Paul Caddock reports.
Good afternoon. A focus on anti-Semitism being driven online here at the Royal Commission today, with calls for the East Safety Commissioner to be given broader powers to protect people from vilification. Federal Labor MP Josh Burns, whose Melbourne electorate office was targeted in an arson and vandalism attack in 2024, giving evidence about all the anti-Semitic abuse he has faced, as well as his staff and his partner, who's not Jewish, Victorian State MP Georgie Purcell.
She gets all of the abuse just because she's associated with me, just because her partner's Jewish, and then because she's a woman in politics, she also gets an added layer of misogyny and often violent sexualised language. It's pretty ugly.
Describing social media as a, quote, arena of hate, saying when trying to report abusive posts to platforms, it's like a black hole that he rarely hears back. Calling for online safety laws to be expanded so that authorities can intervene when comments vilify a group of people, not just an individual, as it is at present.
Social media platforms can't just be about holding people's attention or making money. They've got to be about providing a tool to communicate with each other and participate and reflect our democracy. And if they can't do it in a way that keeps people safe, then we need to force them to do that.
The Royal Commission also hearing today that dozens of witnesses who've given evidence here have then been targeted on social media with abuse, hatred and even threats of violence. And of the hundreds of posts that have been analysed and reported to the platforms, the vast majority remain online.
A close encounter of the whale kind in Botany Bay. A curious southern right whale brought her calf up close to a boat near La Perouse. A very lucky member of the state's National Parks and Wildlife Service capturing this moment. They stopped the boat's engine as the pair swam past. Rangers reminding other boaties that they must keep a 300-metre distance from a whale and calf.